Hi friends, welcome to Top Scholar, the smart learning app. We are back again with another chapter from Science, Introduction to Microbiology Maharashtra Board 10th for your preparation of board examination. And we will be discussing some of the important questions which have been asked in past 5 years so that you can emphasize on those topics much more better. So let's see what we have in store for. First, let's take a look at the marking scheme and how we can gain maximum marks from this particular chapter. So, as you can see, we have marks from 1, 2 and 3. And now, we will see in last 5 years which mark questions have been asked most often. If you see, in 1 mark question, we had one question in the year 2019 and one in 2020. So, we have 2 questions of 1 marks here that we are going to discuss. So, we can aim for total 2 marks. For 2 marks question, we had one in 2019 and one in 2021. Again, we have 2 questions of 2 marks in this chapter which can get us 4 marks. Then comes to 3 marks question, and if you can see, every year we had at least one question of 3 marks from this chapter, and in 2020 we had 3 questions and in 22 we had 2 questions. So total we have 8 questions of 3 marks from this chapter which can get us 24 marks. So that's a lot of marks we are looking at from this chapter. So that makes this chapter quite important, right? So now let's look at it in a graphical format to understand the importance of this chapter much better. If you can see, in 2020 we had 4 questions from this chapter. In 2019 we had 3 questions, but however every year we had at least one question from this particular chapter, and maximum questions in every year is of 3 marks. That is actually a lot of marks, and so we have 24 marks worth of questions here that we are going to discuss from this particular chapter. So what are we waiting for? Let's go on to the questions. So first we will start from the year 2019. Here we have 2 questions. One is a very short answer question which is of 1 mark and another short answer question of 2 marks. We will be discussing the 3 mark question also that we know that is present every year, right? So first question of 1 mark, there is an oil layer on the water surface of the river in your area. What will you do? I will not do anything. It's not my problem is not going to be the answer. We have to do something. So what can we do from the perspective of a microbiologist? So there are certain species of bacteria which are capable or degrading the oil layer on water, such as Pseudomonas species. They are known as hydrocarbonocaustic bacteria, and they are useful in degradation of such oil which is floating on the water surface, hindering the aquatic life inside those rivers. So those bacteria can be used to treat such water which has oil layer on the surface of the water. Now second question, which is of 2 marks, give scientific reason microbial enzymes are used instead of chemical catalysts in the chemical industry. So nowadays more and more industries are giving importance to microbial enzyme instead of chemical enzymes. Because of a lot of advantages which is provided by the microbial enzymes, such as its specificity, then its lower cost, it can be produced very easily by culturing microorganisms which are present in environment. They don't require much of the temperature, external temperature for its activity, and then it also does not corrode the fermentation vessels. So there are a lot of advantages of using microbial enzymes instead of chemical enzymes in the industry. So you can enlist all those things and you can give it as a reason for why chemical industries are preferring to go for microbial enzymes instead of chemical catalysts. Okay. Then there is this question of 3 marks which is going to be very, very important for you. as it is going to get you much more marks, and this is a topic from where a lot of questions has been asked. It is based on the application of microbes in our environment, right? So observe the following figure and answer the questions. So what does it look like? This looks like a modern landfill, right? Now the questions asked are: A. Identify the process shown in the figure. We already did. Explain the process in short. So we will explain this process in short in our subsequent slide. We will take it in detail to prepare you much better. Now let's move on to the year 2020. Here the first question is an MCQ type question. Salts which can be used as supplement of calcium and iron is obtained from dash. Options are carbonic acid, B. acetic acid, C. citric acid, and D. gluconic acid. So we know the answer is going to be D. gluconic acid, right? So let's move on to the next question. Again from the year 2020, if we remember, we had 4 questions from this chapter in 2020, right? Now the question here is complete the following conceptual picture. It is a 3-mark question again. Now here we can see at the center there are microbes, and here there is oil spills and biogas and composting. So we are looking at different applications of microbes. It can be used in biopesticides, it can be used in bioremediations, and it can be used as industrial microbial enzymes, etc., etc. So there are a lot of applications of microbes which we have to fill here. Again, it's a 3-mark question. We will be discussing it in further detail in our subsequent slide. Now, another question which is also of 3 marks, and there is one more question of 3 marks which came in 2020. So we have 3 questions of 3 marks from this chapter in the year 2020, which can happen again this year as well. So let's be prepared for that, okay? Which precautions are necessary for the proper decomposition of domestic waste? It's a 3 marks question. So what are the precautions that needs to be taken for our domestic waste so that it can be properly decomposed? Now decomposition process takes place because of the activity of microbes on it, right? So such objects or such waste which are not biodegradable should not be mixed with the organic waste where the activity can be hindered of the microorganisms, or certain chemicals which will hinder the growth of the microbes should not be added in our domestic waste, so that the proper decomposition or biodegradation of our domestic waste can take place, right? Now, another question is complete the paragraph using proper words: mechanical, rhizobium, aquatic, toxic, CO2, nitrogen, Pseudomonas, amoeba, bacteria, hydrocarbons. The spilling of petroleum oil occurs in the ocean due to various reasons. This oil may prove fatal and toxic to dash organism. Which organisms? It is obviously aquatic organism. Any introduction of pollutant in our natural resources, it is going to affect the organisms living in that habitat, right? So if in aquatic organism, they live in the water bodies, right? So obviously any introduction of pollutant such as petroleum oil spilling on the ocean, so it will affect the aquatic organisms living inside it. Hence, these dash are used to clear the oil spills. These are called as hydrocarbon clastic bacteria, HCB. Okay, so now what are used to clear the oil spills? Pseudomonas is used to clear the oil spills. These are called as hydrocarbon clastic bacteria, HCB. Pseudomonas species of bacteria falls under the class of HCB bacteria, that is the hydrocarbon clastic bacteria, which are capable of degrading oil spills. Okay, HCB decomposes the dash and brings about the reaction of carbon with oxygen. HCB decomposes what? HCB decomposes the hydrocarbons and brings about the reaction of carbon with oxygen. Dash and water is formed in this process. What is formed in this process? So if it is hydrocarbonoclastic. So therefore, carbon dioxide and water is formed in this process by decomposition of hydrocarbon, right? So this is how we answered and gained 3 marks, and the options are all given here. We just have to pick the right word and put it in the blanks, right? Now let's move on to the next year, that is 2021. Explain the term bioinsecticides, okay? And again, another question which is of 3 marks, okay? So 2 marks and 3 marks. We have total 5 marks question right here in 2021. First question, the term bioinsecticide. It is very easy, right? So any insecticides which are because of the byproducts released by microorganism or any biological components such as either microorganisms, plants, or any living organism, it is released, it is known as bioinsecticides, and it is effective in restricting the growth of insects, right? And why is it necessary to ban the use of plastic bags? We all know that, we have heard that time and again everywhere how harmful plastic bags are. First of all, they are non-biodegradable component. They take ages and ages. Plastic bags takes around 15 to 20 years for its decomposition, right? So it is going to be in the atmosphere all that many years, and it will pollute our environment for that long. So that is the reason why there should be a ban in plastic bag. It can choke our water line, it can pollute our water bodies, then it can pollute our land, etc., etc. So obviously there has to be measures taken to ban the use of plastic bags, and these are also not reusable. The plastic bags, we usually use it once and throw it away, correct? So in that case, unless and until there is a ban on plastic bags, we will continue using it, and we will not move on to any other healthier options such as jute bags, etc., which is reusable. So a ban from the authorities need to be in place for this. Now let's move on to the year 22. Here we have again a 3 mark question, right? It's a short answer question. Again, we have 3 sub questions in it. So each sub question will carry 1 mark. Let's see what questions are given. Which substance is used to produce cheese? Cheese is produced from milk, right? So different types of milk. It can be cow milk, buffalo milk, goat milk, etc. is used to produce cheese. Which enzyme was used earlier for cheese production? Which enzyme is used to produce vegetarian cheese? Interesting question. Let's park it here and we will answer it later. Now, let's move on to another question in 22. That is also a short answer question of 3 marks again, right? So we have 2 questions in 22 which is of 3 marks. Now there is a diagram given. The first thing that we see here is a diagram, and we can see there is a biomass, conversion of cellulose to glucose, and then liquid fuel production through fermentation. Okay, so what exactly is it representing, this diagram? It is a production of biofuel in nature. Okay, so how does that take place and how it is used? It can be used in certain other vehicles, and it is a clean energy type because it is mixed, it is gone back to the atmosphere. So it is returned to the atmosphere and it does not add to the imbalance of the nature. Okay, so which process is shown in the above given picture? Give 2 examples of liquid fuels and solid fuels obtained by this process. So this we already have discussed, that this is a production of biofuel that takes place naturally with the help of the microorganisms which are present in the soil itself, and it is easier to obtain. The only thing that is required is the conversion of cellulose into sugar, which takes place in the industry, when this sugar can be used for the production of biofuels with the help of fermentation process, with the help of microorganism, and these biofuels can be used in our vehicles as a substitute for petroleum and other fuels. Okay. Now, next question is, which fuels are obtained from biomass? We just answered that. There are different types of fuels which can be used from biomass, and the fuels are known as biofuels. And there are different types of biofuels. It can be liquid, it can be solid, it can be gaseous type of biofuels. We will have to mention the names of it, and you have 3 marks from that answer, and this question was asked in 23. So, we know that this biofuel topic is actually very important for us from this chapter. Now, let us try to answer this question. Okay. So, we saw this diagram earlier, and the question was to identify the process shown in the figure. Okay. So, we had already identified the process. It is modern landfill. Now, we have to explain the process in short. So, let us see the solution for it. Modern landfill site is the identifying the image given. Then, away from the residential areas, large pits are dug in open space which are lined by plastic sheets, and the degradable wastes are dumped in this. Okay. So, the most important thing is in these large pits, degradable wastes are dumped, not the plastic, non-biodegradable waste, leather or etc., which are non-biodegradable. Degradable wastes are dumped here. Why is that so? Plastic sheets are lined to prevent the leaching of toxic and harmful materials into the soil. So, these degradable wastes are degraded with the help of microbes present in the soil, and the byproducts that are produced should not cause any harmful or toxic leaching into the soil, and that is the reason, to prevent that, to keep it contained inside that landfill, plastic sheets are used. Then further, it is covered with the layers of soil, sawdust, leafy waste and specific biochemicals. Bioreactors are mixed in some places. Okay, so some places bioreactors are also mixed, and there is a mixing mechanism that goes on in there, so that there is a circulation of air inside, and microbes present in the soil and other top layer decomposes the waste. Okay, so this is what takes place inside the modern landfill site. Best quality compost is formed after a few days, and such landfilling sites can be reused after the removal of compost. So, after the decomposition of these degradable waste which is filled inside it, after some time it will give rise to compost. This compost is actually the best quality compost. This can be used in crops and in farms to raise better crops, and once this compost is withdrawn from the landfill site, this particular landfill site can be reused. Okay, so it is not harmed also. The compost is used, and that landfill site is again filled with other degradable waste material, and then covered with soil layer and our leafy waste and biochemicals, etc., so that another batch of compost can be produced out of it. Now, next question that we are going to see is complete the following conceptual picture. So, as we had discussed earlier, at the center there are microbes. We have one application given in the oil spill. Second is biogas and composting. So, we will have other 4 boxes to fill here. So, let us see how we can do that. So, we have oil spills and biogas and composting already given. Microbes can be used for biofuels, which we had already seen. There were questions coming from there. There is sewage treatment, landfilling and microbial inoculant biopesticides, right? So, there are many more applications other than this also, which is present in your textbooks. You need to find that out, and you can mention any of those applications in these boxes given, right? Now, next question is, which substance is used to produce cheese? Which enzyme was used earlier for cheese production, and which enzyme is used to produce vegetarian cheese? Let's see the solution for it. So, cheese is produced from cow milk. It is also produced from the milk of goat, sheep, water buffalo, or a blend of these milk. Okay, so cheese is a milk product. So, obviously it is made of milk. Then, rennet obtained from the alimentary canal of cattle was earlier used for cheese production. Okay, so rennet is the key ingredient. It is used for the production of cheese. It was found, it is an enzyme found in the alimentary canal of cattle. But So now the enzyme protease is used instead, which is given out or which is produced by a fungi. This is again a microorganism, a fungi. It produces protease enzyme which can be used, which is replacing the use of rennet in the cheese production, and it is a much better option, a much cleaner option, and also a less tedious process to extract as well. So I hope you enjoyed learning about the introduction to microbiology and how microbiology can be used in different application. I hope you noted down all the important questions that is repeatedly asked so you can focus on them better. Thank you and all the best for your exams.